Cool. All right, figured that out. That was good.
How to stop it too before you're done.
Jackpot. All right, so I'm assuming you guys can see my screen pretty well. I'm going to go over a little bit of the eye. So this is eye notes. I'll make that bigger so it's more impressive. Nice. All right, so with notes on this, it's like a quick little preview, or yeah, it's like a trailer for what we're learning today. So with eyes, so if you have like today, I'm gonna be showing you guys how to draw like a white woman's eyes. Now, if you're Asian or Filipino or something, you have different shaped eyelids, but we'll practice on this one. More or less, all the tricks and techniques that you need to learn on this, you can transfer over. Now, if you have heavy eyelets, so see this this little bag of fat up here. So with that, some people, this will come over the top of the eyelid, but you still be able to see eyelids over here in the corner on the left and the right side. And also, some people's eyelashes will go down more than up. So it's another difference there. But other than that, it's a lot of the tricks and techniques you're going to learn today are going to be about the same. All right, so hold on 1 second here. Go to the next screen. All right, so in general, you guys will have one eye that's going to be like, if you're looking at an angle, so if like, look at me in that angle here, there we go. At an angle, you're going to have one eye, which is this one looks pretty straight on. The other eye on the other side of the head, it's going to be more of an angle. I'll show you guys how to draw that as well. Just look at straight on eye. Here we have eyelashes coming down. I'll show you how to draw those as well. Looking up, you can always see the thickness of the eyelids. See the thickness? When people first start drawing eyes, they're like, okay, let's draw these really thin eyelids, but you need to really exaggerate on the eyelids that you're going to be seeing. So these are the generic previews here. Now we're going to get to the down and dirty here. So I'm going to go a little share screen again. It's my document camera. I'll get that rolling. Bam. Nice. All right. So with this, now if you take a look at document camera here, let me move this over a little bit. It's a bad angle, bad view. Oh, way better. Nice. All right, so quick review on the notes. So with you guys on your notes, you guys did a really good job with the notes, how many notes you're taking. A couple things though, some of you guys abbreviated things a little too much. So when you're taking notes, don't just write down like abbreviations. Try to make it like complete sentences. So you can imagine like next week when you forget how to do these things, you can go back, read your investigation workbook, and you can read your instructions that you gave yourself, and they should make sense to you. If, on the other hand, you're watching a presentation and you just write the notes, thinking it's going to jog your memory, I wouldn't really do that. So the more complete your notes are, the better it's going to be. All right, so now with the eye notes here, we're going to go over a few things here. So this is eye notes. Eye notes.
Oh, no, Sanchez. Oh my God, Sanchez back.
Make sure you guys are muted unless you have something interesting to go over there. I don't think that's all that interesting. Let me sharpen my pencil here real quick. All right. I'll use a regular pencil for some of these notes so you can see them a little bit better. Eye notes. All right, so then the first phase in eye notes, you want to make sure that you guys have a good outline. So I know you have a good outline, so you followed your grid. You might be done, you might not be done. So I'm trying to keep up with the fastest students. I'll always do that. However, if you're behind, don't worry about it. Maybe try to put a little more time outside of class so you can get caught up and feel it all warm and fuzzy about the progress you're making. All right, I'm gonna do like a little column down here. I'm gonna put some bad example. And this is going to be GUD, good. All right, so these are like, on this side, I'm going to show you like the stereotypes, the notes that you guys will do, the kind of eyes that you'll draw, and you'll think it's looking pretty good, but actually you're in a lot of bad habits. So this, I'll go over some bad eyes. So one of the most common things, if you follow your grid, you'll be able to do pretty well. However, even if you follow the grid, there's some things you got to change or lie about, like the reflections, thickness of the eyelids, and stuff like that if you don't see them. First, I'll start with some of the bad ones here. So here's a bad eye. Now, the bad ite, it's pretty much like a football shape. And if I did a line right down the center, if you look at this, it's divided in the middle. So divided in the middle. All right, so divided in the middle. Now a good eye, on the other hand, will come up. I'll show you this, just watch this for a second. It'll come up kind of steep, and it fades down on this side. So steeper here. In the bottom section, it's going to be kind of flat. So it's a better eye. So then if I did a line right down the center, most of it is on top. Draw a line here, so just like almost a flat bottom. It's not really flat, but it's kind of flat. I'm going to put flat-ish. Flattish bottom. All right, so that'll help you guys out with the eyes quite a bit. Just that alone. Another mistake people make is when they draw on eyelids. So with eyelids, if you connect it like this, if you go like up, down, and connect them, you don't want to connect the eyelids. So don't connect. And even if you think you see them being connected, realize they're not. And with the tear duct, what have you, so the tear duct's going to be on this side here. The fattest part of the eyelid, they won't connect. There'll be like kind of a chunk of meat right here, and it flattens out, and then comes down, but still doesn't touch. So it's a gap on both sides. So it's fat here, levels off, and tapers down the side. Good eye, bad eye. Zoom in a little more so you can see it better. I'm starting to like this document camera, except for it goes out of focus. It's a little annoying. All right, so don't connect. Leave a gap. And if your eyelids, once again, if you have like an eye sac right above it where you don't see the top part, you'll follow your reference on that. So don't change your eye shape. But this is like general notes. So you kind of figure out like, okay, this is like normally how it's going to work. Another thing people always forget is the thickness of the eyelids, which is down here. So if you see the thickness right here, like big chunk of skin. So if you're looking down at it a little bit, you're going to see the thickness right here. So I'll draw a little bit of that. It's going to start at almost nothing. A little lighter down here in the bottom. And come back to almost nothing on the top again. So right down, show thickness. It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. All right, so then bad eye, we'll just leave that thickness out because people forget that all the time. Another one is the iris. A lot of people are drawing the iris, will make it way too small. So, too small. Now in school, we have a circle template. Now, if you have a circle template, that works out great. If you don't, we'll just try really hard to make that totally round. So with this, if you can see the bottom of the eye here, almost the top of it, but when you look at eyeballs, if you look at this one, it's buried on the top and the bottom. Now, if you're like surprised or really scared, or if you look at your grade on your sketchbook and you turned in like all these pages and you got a bad grade, then you might see the whites all the way around the eye, like this, because you're like terrified. You're going, what the heck? So with this, it was more of a casual eye. When you look at that, I'm gonna go in here, the same thing. So watch this. It's pretty big, way bigger than you think. A nice clean line using a magic pencil. You should be using a magic pencil anyways. So it takes up way more room and it looks way more realistic as well. Also for today, you're gonna need a little bit of powdered graphite and a blending stump as well. Be a little bit later. All right, so now we have the good eye, bad eye so far. Here's another thing. Too small of a pupil. I'll do like a little small reflection on it. All right, so that small reflection, the little dot that I have in the pupil, that's also really common. You only see like a dot in the reflection if the photograph is taken like indoors using a flash of a camera. If it's outdoors though, you're not gonna see like one dot. You're gonna see like the reflection, like what's around you. You might see like a sky or a building a little bit being reflected, what have you. So you're gonna see a lot more reflections and that'll help out. Too small. And if your pupil's too small, it's gonna look like you're on drugs. So if you have like a too small pupil, looks like you're on meth. If it's too big, it looks like you're on LSD. So you want like a nice, clean, and sober pupil right there. This one's too small. Little meth head, too small. And so on here, I'll make it a little bit bigger. And to make sure you're in the middle, here's another key too. A lot of people will bury them. So I'm gonna go like a dot right in the middle of it. Put a small dot in the middle. And you might have to erase it, try it again. But watch this up here. So if I look at the distance between like here and here, here and here's the same, here and here's the same. Remember the eye goes all the way up here though, above the eyelid. So you want to make sure that it's the same up to here. And it's a little bit low. I'm gonna raise it just a titch. All right, so that's the center, more or less. All right, so then once I have that dot there, I'll make the pupil a little bit larger. So then I'll make the pupil a little bit larger, going around the center of that. Not too big, not too small, clean and sober. There. All right. So that's face one. Right there. And so once again, these are things you'll be looking for in your eyes. So you're still drawing your eyes on your portrait, but these are things to look for so you can kind of like tell what's happening. Okay, then after you have this, next step, I'll call this maybe step 3. Map out where your reflections are going to be. So map out reflections. Reflections. And so don't do a dot. Whatever you do, don't put the reflection right in the middle. I'll use my magic pencil here and I'll lightly draw like little reflections in there. And right here on this one little dot, that means it was taken in like indoors, studio kind of thing with the flash of a camera. That's why I have this little dot. However, it's gonna be way more interesting than that. And then I'll do an example here. So over here in the good eye section. So this is your iris. This is your pupil. What I recommend doing is kind of mapping out little reflections. Super light though. It can be like little pieces. I'll do like 3 little nuggets right there. It's going to be on the top third of the eye. So don't put them too low because then it's an eyeball, it's round. And if you have highlights way up here coming down, it's going to be on that top third of the eye, or the iris, I should say. And if I'm going too fast, have to slow down. I can't really see the chat right now with the screen, so you have to like unmute, say like slow down, or what the heck are you talking about, or whatever else. I'll gladly go over it again. Okay, Now we have all that. So now here's another bad one. So with the bad part of the eye, they'll come in here with like little spokes. They go, oh yeah, eyes have little spokes on them. Those are terrible. No spokes. No spokes. And we'll go over that here in a little bit as well. So you kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, so then we talked about shading, like how to shade things in. So this is all the outline, except for the eyebrow. I'll have that come up here. And then when you draw the eyebrow in on your portrait, keep it pretty loose. It's gonna be kind of darker here. It peaks, it goes down to about here, like that. So I'm gonna go super light when I draw the eyebrow in. Super light, barely in there. Kind of jiggity jaggedy lines, you can kind of see it, but it's not too dark. And give me a second. All right. A lot of times with the eyebrows, people will make them so they're like centered, like a rainbow. These don't exist. So no to that. No rainbows. So it's gonna be kind of flat-ish going up, and it peaks right here. All right. Now we talked about the center of the eye, so I will go right through here. And when you guys first start drawing eyes, you'll tend to want to go too deep on the bottom section. The other thing, though, as you look at it, the top part of the eye is right here. Lowest part of the eye is right here. On the bad eye, it's lowest, that's the highest. It's on the top. So if you look at this, though, on the real one, on the real eye, it's going to be right here. It's the highest part. High. And the lowest part's down here. Low. So what I'm going to do is if you look at this, highest point here is the same thing. Low is down here in the bottom. Low and high. All right, so we have all mapped out. That's the drawing part. So little eye sacs over that here real quick. So the eye sac, right down here on the bottom, you're gonna have one sac. It goes toward the nose. It's pretty big. So this is like a larger eye sac that comes down here for shading. That goes up in the eyeball, kind of goes around. You'll be able to see that here in a second. Now this part, on the second part, this part of the eye sac comes down. It's a little bit more shallow. Right about here. Then I'll go over it with the final one. So this is like the notes. And then I also want you to practice eyes as well. So this is like a note page, and below it, you can practice eyes. You should have like 2 or 3 practice eyes. Because eyes are super important. If these don't look amazing on your portrait, you can mess up on a nose or an ear. Nobody really knows the difference. However, if you make a mistake on the eye, it can be kind of a mess. And Rena, still have your camera on. Are you there by any chance? Rena, are you there? All right, to get attendance, once again, you need to make sure that your camera's on. Otherwise, it's going to mark you inactive. All right, let me just do a quick scan. Let's see where we're at. Everybody else looks like they're jamming. Nice. Oh, we got a couple more. Zarina, Bonnie, I think you said that your camera's not working. No, that was good. Elise, you'd have your camera on. There you go. Then Zarina, you'd have your camera on.
Did you call my name?
Who are you?
Rena.
Rita, I think you're one of the ones that didn't have a camera on.
Yeah.
All right, so if you get the camera on, that'd be great.
It doesn't work.
Oh, you're one of the non-working camera.
Yes.
Yeah, mine is the same, Stevens.
Okay, who is that?
Bonnie.
Oh, okay. So yeah, gotta get those things working. Bonnie and Rita. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so anyways, so now we have all the drawing part done. Now I'll show you guys how to shade. When you're shading the eyes, I'll show you like a few different tricks and techniques. One of them is like how to hold the pencil again. So for it's like a review, I've already just kind of taught you a little bit that was sketching. If you try to shade like this, it won't work. It'll be way too dark. Gotta hold the pencil much further back. I would say right about here. All right, so the first thing I want to do is when you're shading the eyeball, is with for shading in, I'll go for shading eyeball. And eyeball. Now, but the eyeball is kind of tricky. If the light source is coming from like over here, the darkest part of the eye is oddly enough where the reflections are. Sounds weird, but it makes sense in a second. So the eye is not really a solid surface. It's kind of gelatinous. So what happens is the light comes in here, causes a reflection. The eye goes through the eyeball itself and blows out the side right here. So the lightest part of the eye is going to be on the opposite side of the light source. So here's the sun. So the sun right there. So this is the darkest part of the iris, lightest part of the iris. A little note. And this goes against common sense. If you don't see that in your eyes, you'll exaggerate that. And if you have brown eyes, so if you have brown eyes, if you look at your photograph, you may not be able to discern the difference between like a pupil and the iris. But you're going to be exaggerating and lying a little bit. Not like lying like tons, but lying some. And then I'll explain that too. Dark brown eyes, you're going to actually have the pupil and the iris blended together totally on the top. But on the bottom right here, even if you have really dark brown eyes, in the right light and in person, you can actually see the brown part of your eyes. Oh, if you have like dark brown eyes in person, you can see this. In a photograph, on the other hand, you can't. So that's part of the lying part that I'm showing you guys. So if there wasn't tricks, I'd say go ahead and draw it. That's why we're here. There's tons of tricks for these things. All right, so I'm gonna hold the pencil back here. I'm gonna try to do a smooth blend, but when I blend this in, I'll do a bigger one here so you can kind of see it. I'm just gonna go around the perimeter here, right? So what you don't wanna do is take lines going straight across like this. That's terrible. Once again, you're gonna be going like, kind of like this, following the, so I'm gonna follow the contours here, like that, right? So I'm gonna go back and forth, different directions, and following the contour of the eyeball. It should take you a while, even if you want it like really dark. Still go nice and slow with the dark values. And at first it's gonna be scratchy. It'll be scratchy at first. So when you first start this technique, it'll look like scratch marks. Like, oh my gosh, that is horrible. That's not smooth. And the more time you spend on it, even if you're not putting more pressure on it, just allowing that pencil to go over and over and over again, eventually you have a nice smooth blend. So with this, on this side over here, you can see the length of my pencil strokes. Kind of long, not too bad. And my pencil angle is about 45 degrees, it's about like this. If it's too flat, you're not gonna be able to get a smooth line. Too steep will be too pointed, scratchy. So on the angle of the paper, it's about like this, about a 45-degree angle. Then I'll come in here, shade this out. It's gonna be my lightest part. Taking my time, slow process. And with the eyes, you can use a blending stump eventually, but not yet though. You can only use your blending stump to smooth things out on, let's write that down. Blending stump only on eyeball, lips, and that's it. So if you do like the blending stump other areas of the eye, or the face especially, your face is going to look super splotchy. So you don't want that. So this is my practice eye. I'm going to go really light down here on the bottom. And I'm following the contour. So down here, when I blend, I'm going to go the other direction. If you find your scratches getting like too dark, pull your grip back a little bit further. It's going to be working out a lot better for you. Starts off scratchy, and the more you go, better it is. All right, so I'll do a little bit more up here as well. Start light, smaller, so it won't take as long. And with the pupil, I'll show you how to do that as well. And it's a smooth blend, so don't worry about anything else. Smooth blend, darker where the reflections are. It should take you a while to make it dark, so don't try to rush it. And I'm going to leave the reflections in there. And on the bottom over here, it's going to get a little bit lighter. That's very nice. Small strokes, take your time. And then overall, it's a pretty decent blend. I'll like a little bit darker over here. All right, so that's like a base coat, more or less. All right, so then after I have that, you'll wait a little bit. You guys look kind of busy. So you guys are working like these. All right. All right, enough of you guys are done. So now what I'm going to do is show you a few more things here. One of them is like a dark ring around the eye. So right here is going to be, if you look around the perimeter, I'm going to show you that. So that's the next phase. So here, if it's dark brown, it's almost black right here. So watch up the camera. We'll break for a second. It's like a black line so far, but the black line, what I'm going to do is pretend it's around the iris. I'm going to start off black almost, and I'll fade it. It's like a transition. Starts off like a black line, and then fade it. What you don't want to do is have the black line have a hard edge on both sides. In other words, you don't want this. Here it's a hard edge, and here it's a hard edge. So you need like a soft edge. Use soft edge. All right, so come around here. Start off dark, a little bit lighter on the sides. And then, so these are all notes. We're still going to do one practice eye together. Try to figure this out. All right, for the ring, that's halfway decent. I'll come back up here. These notes, same thing. All right, dark ring around there. Then as it goes up into the eyelid, so this is going to cast a shadow. That's another phase, is doing the little eye shadow. So the shadow of eyelid, and it's spelled shadow. Shadow of eyelid on eyeball, or on iris. A lot to remember. So make sure you have good notes. Eyelid on iris. All right, so right up here on the top, make this darker up here. So cast my shadow. If you have dark brown eyes, they'll be like pretty black going all the way to the pupil. Hazel eyes, which we're doing, it's a little less. Gives you a nice little shadow action on that. Now to smooth it out, once again, we can use blending stumps here. This is one of those approved blending stump areas. You can take your blending stump and then scumble it. But watch this though. When I take the blending stuff, scumble. I'm not going to go big strokes. I'm like scumbling toward the pupil, blurring it out. And it's going to be super dark up here, like a darker brown eye. And I lost my reflection. Be able to erase that in a little bit. All right, now the pupil part. Don't go too fast. All right, with the pupil, watch this. All right, so yeah, watch this on the screen here again for a second. So the pupil here got mapped out. Don't try to make huge strokes like this. It's scumbling, and don't go pure black at first. Like right here is about a 5 value. Scumbling, small strokes, direction of the pencil. Gradually getting darker and darker. So when you're done, you shouldn't be able to see any of the pencil strokes that you created this thing with. And I'm leaving the white reflection there so you can see that. All right. Same thing up here. Super dark. And then I'll cheat so I can see it better, a little larger. I'm going to go ahead and finish this to the point where I have the blending stone. Scumble, scumble. Small strokes. And I'm also going kind of toward the middle of the eye. So yeah, drawing eyeballs takes a few steps. And this is kind of a review. You did an R1, but there's a few differences between R1 eyeballs and R2 eyeballs. All right, I'll give you guys a couple more minutes here. While I'm waiting for you, I'll do my final eyeball. So I outlined that thing done. I'm going to come in the round part here. And while you're waiting for me, I would recommend doing another practice eye. Just get caught up where we're at. You can make it a little bit larger than your other ones. I have my dark ring. I have my eyeball pupil. And map out the reflections. So yeah, I'll do 2 eyes so I can give you guys a chance to get caught up. And the pupil is going to be like, pretty much as dark as you can go. You could even use your layout pencil. Once you figure out, got it nailed in pretty good. And I'm going to hold back further on the pencil again so I can see it. Get the blur, go overall. So right now it's pretty scratchy. Hold back even further on the pencil. I'll make this eye a little bit lighter. And at first it's scratchy, but then once you get things going, it'll smooth out. Once you're caught up to me, don't go any further than I've done. Just start another eye so you get more practice. I would say the eyes are one of the most important parts. It's like the sky. So if you do the sky really well and the eyes really well, your entire portraits look pretty dang good. And I'll go darker up here on the sides, following the contour of the eyeball as it goes around, so rely on this. And if you have questions, let me know. Just unmute. Slow down. And I'll slow down. But I figure instead of slowing down, I'm just going to do another eye. And then once again, don't forget to only use the blending stuff with the eye and the lips. The worst thing you do is use the blending stuff on the face. And I always have somebody that wants to do that. I don't know why. I see it. It always looks really splotchy. But they keep going with it. It's like a thing. Focus. Here you go. All right, so you can see how my pencil's like curving along with the. And you might be thinking, holy Toledo, this is taking a long time just for an eye. But once again, the reason why we're spending this much time on just the eye is because how important it is. And we'll eventually, and you should have an eye that you really like, so don't try to rush the eye demonstration. On the notes, it's going to be worth more points than a page of notes because of how long it takes. All right, starting to get there now. I got the ring of the eye. I'm gonna fade that in. So a hard edge on the outside of the ring and blur it out as it comes in. Hard edge at first and blur. And this side of the eye is going to be darker than the other side. And your other practice eye, you can make it a little bit larger so you can see it better. If you look at my hand, it's about 4 fingers wide. You can go a little smaller if you want. Now I'll do the cast shadow of the eyelid on the eyeball itself, iris. And as long as you're patient, it'll turn out really well. A lot of you guys are used to like drawing something that looks good. Like you draw something and people go, wow, that's really good. And it only takes you like a couple minutes. This is different in the fact that it's going to look better than anything you've ever done. So your best project. And when you're done, it's not going to look like, oh, well, it's pretty good. It's like, oh, man, that looks like a photograph. How'd you do that? In your head, you're thinking, man, it's easy. It's following tricks. All right, so this side of my eye is not dark enough yet. I want to have this side definitely darker than the other side. And technically, you almost don't need a blending stump if you go over it enough time. So if you keep blending enough, it'll get like so smooth you won't even need a blending stump at all. So the technique I'm showing you, it starts off scratchy. It gets better and better and better. All right, I have the basic values now for my eyeball itself, the iris. So now I'm gonna take the blending stump and we'll start in the light side because once my blending stump gets kind of dirty, it'll tend to make everything else too dark. So now I come in here, barely touch it. Don't press hard. It's just like really slow process, like everything else. Now it's getting rid of all the pencil strokes. Now I'm starting to get to the darker part of the eye. And much darker on the side. Little small strokes, though. All right, darker on one side, lighter on the other side. Halfway decent. I'll see if you guys look like you're still working on them. Yeah, still working, and still working. All right. Looks like I'll give you guys a couple more minutes here. Meanwhile, I'll darken the pupil a little bit. I'll use my magical layout pencil. All right. And maybe I'll darken in the rings. Sure. All right. Even if you're not quite done, hopefully you're done enough so we can go on to the next phase here. I'll keep you guys going here. So even if you're not done, you can go back. There's no new notes on that part. Then I'll look for my eyeball notes here really quick. There they are. All right, so here, take a look at this. Got the pupil right here. So if you look at the pupil, right now it looks like a cardboard, like a little disc that was cut out, too hard of an edge. What you're gonna do is like, it's got like a spoke kind of thing, but different. You're gonna take your magic pencil, and these are not symmetrical though. So these are gonna be small lines that come out, and then they're aiming toward the middle. So if you look at this, it's kind of how the eye or the pupil retracts and expands. So like small little lines. Then you can take a blending stump if you want, kind of like help fade that out just a little bit. Aiming to the middle though, then I'll soften it up. You got just a few of them if you wanted to. You don't have a lot of them. So I'll go back in here, add those little lines. And make sure that those lines from retraction are going into the center of the eye. And I used the wrong paper. It's kind of a waxy paper. It's kind of a weird surface. All right, so you can see some of them. Subtle little nuggets. All right. And then I'll shade in the top part of the eye here a little more. Of the eyelid coming out of the iris. And if you have dark brown eyes, the shadow of the eyelid will blend more into the pupil. Small strokes. Bam. All right. Now, normally I let it go like a little screen, but I think I'll like fake it here a little bit. Where's my eraser? All right, you guys are working really hard. Nice. All right, I'm gonna move on here a little bit. With the eye, I'm gonna show you a few things here. So with the eye, on the inside of the eye, a lot of people have different kinds of litter, so or eye litter, I like to call it. So some of it is kind of subtle. And then look at the screens. Eye contact up here, so I can show you guys. There's a demonstration. So with this, we call them like monkeys and jimmies. I'll show you that. It's like a Jimmy is like a little nugget, kind of soft and blurry, like this right here. You can barely see it. So it looks like a Jimmy. Now a monkey, and some of you guys have less Jimmies or monkeys. So here's a Jimmy. I'll do like a small, soft one. So that's a Jimmy. That's not the technical term. And then a monkey might be like a harder edge line monkey. All right, whoop, can't see that. Where'd it go? All right, so yeah, Jimmy and monkey. So when you add those in, a few of them, you can look at close at your eyes. And I'll show you here real quick. Normally I do like a screen, but that's all right. Hopefully my eyeball will work. And oop, I'm upside down. Okay, so with this, when I'm looking into it, wait, focus. Focus. Can't really see it that well. Still blurry. Hold on one second. 2 out of focus. All right, so we'll have to just take my word for it. I'll go back down here. And flip. All right, so when you're doing these, adding the Jimmies and the monkeys is the same. I'll do it on this one so you can see it better. I'll do a few, and then some of you guys might have really clean eyes. Others, you have a little more space junk. Feel like a monkey over here, Jimmy on this side. Even if you have dark brown eyes, you'll still have some of this glitter. A little harder to see though. And don't make it symmetrical though. So the mistake people make is they go like, oh, I'll put like a dot every 1/4 inch. And that's not how the iris works. Iris is actually very asymmetrical. Jimmy, half of a monkey, another Jimmy. All right, so you guys add those in there. Make sure you have notes, Jimmys and the monkeys. Even if you have dark brown eyes, you probably still have some. Some people, like I said, have very few. Other people have a lot more. But I'll zoom in here so you can see it. So you can see that. There's quite a few of them, but not like tons. All right. All right, now I'm going to add some highlights. And then you don't have to be finished to go on, so when I go to the next step, you guys can watch it, and you can go back and get caught up again. So you don't have to stay up with me as far as time goes. I'm going to use a corner of an eraser. This is kind of like adding like light value Jimmies and monkeys. Over here, watch this. Here it goes. Are you ready? Here it goes. It's magic. All right, so in this light part, I'll barely pick up the corner of the eraser and add just a few of these little guys. Tap them in. It's not really that noticeable. Very subtle. And they're blurry. They're like soft and blurry, so I'll show you that. Focus. Anyway, so right here, you can see the little light areas. That's done with an eraser. All right. Let me know if I'm going too fast, people. All right. All right. Hope I'm not going too fast. Anyhow, next thing I'm going to do is shade in the eyeball itself. I'm just going to do that. So, all right, so this is eyeball shading. With the eyeball shading, there's a few little tricks to it. The one part is right up here on the eyelid itself. I start off with kind of a dark line. Then as it comes down, I'll like here, push back further. So here it's going to be too dark. If I push back further on the pencil like this, though, it'll start looking a lot better. So it'll start off kind of scratchy. eyelid shadow right here. And then stop what you're doing right now and just take a look at this. Watch this little section here. All right, so I'm starting to get the cast shadow of the eyelid on the eyeball. And then right here, see the section on this part of the eye? It's really important. Go a little bit darker here. This is what makes it look round. And oddly enough, you don't have really hardly any of the white of the eye actually pure white. Now I'll even hold back further. So now to make it really light, I'll hold back even further on the pencil. Make it a little bit darker down here. But I'll have some lines even in the middle of the eyeball. Because the whites of the eyes really aren't white. They're actually like skin tone plus a little bit of blue, which translates to gray. And at first you're gonna go, oh, that's too dark. But you see how dark the skin is? Look way more realistic. Now I'll come in here in the corner of the eye. I'll make that even darker. That just sneak around there to make it look more like an eyeball. And it's crazy how dark you actually go with this. I outline my tear duct, which pretty much a tear duct kind of does like a two little piece thing. So a tear duct kind of looks like this, like a little piece of pizza or a lounge chair, just like right in there. I'll go back to my eyelid shading. And it comes over here on this side, it'll be the same thing. Dark on the side, I'll push back further on the hand. Don't forget about moving your hand back and forth on the pencil. So if you stay like too close, way too scratchy. A nice soft blend. Scumbling, go in different directions. Don't forget that. So there's a lot of things to remember, but if you have notes, you're going to be set. And with the notes, I would review your notes like tomorrow. So before you start on your final eye in your project, I would go back and review, and then as if you forgot everything. Like it's subtle, like how to shade in, where you go different directions. When you hear me say it, you go, oh yeah, no, I remember that. On your final project though, a lot of times you'll forget. You'll go like, oh, that's right. I was supposed to go different directions and slowly get to those values instead of so fast. Now we'll go a little bit darker down here in the bottom of the eyeball to get more three-dimensional. And once again, it is pretty dark. Well, I mean, it's not too dark. And the reason why it looked kind of dark on your paper at first, because the area around your eyeball is all light. My God, I only have 1 minute left. All right. So you can start to see it. It's kind of long anyways. Let's see what time it is exactly. We have 1 minute. All right, so here's the deal. I'm gonna show you one more trick. Well, one more trick for today. Is that like 35 seconds? Now with the white part of the eye, it's a little bit bigger. So watch this. It's kind of an important part here. I'm gonna take a normal piece of ass paper, rip it up so it's like one square, and you take this and you kind of wad it up, roll it, so it's kind of pointy-ish. So we got like a pointy edge on it, like this. And then this is like a soft blending stump. So blend this out. I'll come here with the homemade blending stump and go super light at first, scumbling, and watch how I blend. Watch this. I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go, and then I stop. Go back in, and stop. And it's like really subtle, but it makes a big difference in the blending. All right, so I think that is it for today, people. I'll be around.